All praises and glory goes to our mighty power, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, citations to the elect men continually feeding the sheep of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, in sincerity and truth with this great gospel coming out of our Bible. For you Israelites, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? You Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans in the scattered seed throughout the four corners of the earth, looking like the other nations. And right now we're living in the downfall of Esau's kingdom. Let's get this verse. This is the book of 2nd Ezra 6, and we're going to start at 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? What's the it that followeth? The kingdom of heaven. And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And we're watching the end of Esau's world right before our eyes.
Great Britain looks like a nation where life is functioning normally. Below the surface, however, lies a growing sense that the United Kingdom is coming apart at the seams. King's College London professor of war studies David Betts set off alarm bells this year by saying Britain is headed towards civil war, and he advised people living in its large cities to move before the violence starts.
Imagine Northern Ireland scale. Northern Ireland in intensity, but on a completely national scale. Attacks on public figures, judges, potentially politicians.
London Daily Telegraph columnist Tim Stanley told us he agrees with Betts that Britain is heading for open sectarian conflict, possibly war, and there's nothing we can do to stop it.
And his argument is this, that first of all, Britain displays many of the signs of being a failed state, such as economic decline, total loss of trust in the police, and a fractious and increasingly extreme politics.
I'm going to go to the book of Lamentations. Let's go to Lamentations 4, verse 21. It reads, Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. It says, the cup also shall pass through unto thee, right? What's that cup? The same cup we had to drink, right? The cup of a downfall of a people. The end of a people, just like when we came to a fall, right? It was the end of our kingdom, right? We had civil unrest. We had our people turning on each other, right? We were being invaded by other nations, right? We were being attacked, right? Finances collapsing, right? The curses taking over. That's really what's going on to Edom. Edom's getting a taste of the curses, right? Edom is losing everything because it's the end of his world. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked, right? Esau is being identified as who? The wicked on the earth, the thief, right? The man of sin who cometh to steal, kill, and to destroy, right? He has done nothing good in all these kingdoms, from Britain to America, from Greece to Rome, right? In all these different places, he done set up shop. South Africa, right? This devil is looking Central and South America, Canada. Right, these devils, right, ain't doing nothing positive for the people. These different places where these heathens has taken over is collapsing, and it's a beautiful thing. They're getting a taste of that cup.
Britain displays many of the signs of being a failed state, such as economic decline, total loss of trust in the police, and a fractious and increasingly extreme politics.
At the center of this unrest is a government multicultural experiment that has brought in large numbers of Muslims without requiring them to integrate. More continue to arrive daily. This is Britain's southern border, the English Channel, across from the coast of France, and it's as porous as the Rio Grande River. 2 weeks ago, 1,200 illegal migrants arrived in a single day.
When you have a country in decline, and you add large numbers of new people into the mix, what you end up with is ethnic conflict over resources.
Experts fear all that might be needed to trigger a civil war is another terror attack. White working-class anger exploded last summer when the son of a Rwandan immigrant stabbed 11 children and 2 adults at a dance studio. 3 girls died. Social media post initially misidentified the killer as an illegal migrant, sparking the worst riots in 10 years.
This is the book of 2 Ezra 15 and 15. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Right? It is getting physical in these countries, right? Especially in these Edomite countries where they don't allow the different migrants to come in. You got the Hispanics and all type of other nations and Haitians and Caribbean people and people from African, Asian, from all over the world coming through to America. You got a bunch of Arabs and so-called Muslims going into Europe, right? These different countries where Esau controls is being invaded by other nations, and guess what? It's starting conflicts, right? It's starting conflict, civil unrest between the people, because one people believe one thing and these other people believe another. They're not trying to integrate and be part of your society, Esau. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands," right? You've seen them little girls get stabbed up, right? Well, you didn't see it, but you heard about it, right? That happened over there in Europe, right? And guess what? It's going to spread. It's going to be more people being put to death over what racism and different nationalities not getting along. 2 Ezra 13 and 31, "And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another." Yes, it's going to get worse.
White working class anger exploded last summer when the son of a Rwandan immigrant stabbed 11 children and 2 adults at a dance studio. 3 girls died. Social media post initially misidentified the killer as an illegal migrant, sparking the worst riots in 10 years. Only much later did police reveal the killer possessed an Al-Qaeda training manual. Right-wing and working-class British are also angry over what they claim is a 2-tier justice system that favors Muslims. Last week, this man was convicted of a crime for publicly burning a Quran in a political protest. A Muslim man with a knife who threatened to kill him faced no charges. Lucy Connolly, a 41-year-old publicly burning a Quran in a political protest. A Muslim man with a knife who threatened to kill him faced no charges. Lucy.
This is the book of Matthew 24 and 10. It reads, "And then many shall be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another." Right? We're in the time of people hating one another. Right? People turning on each other. Right? It don't matter about the country that these people don't care about the country that they're from right now. It's about what their religions and their beliefs. Right? You got them crackers, they don't, man. All they know is about that Aryan nation spirit and keeping that white race going. Because they see that, and the same thing with them damn Asians. They want to keep their shit going. That's why they're trying to infiltrate all these different countries, right? Sending motherfuckers to different countries to study while they're really trying to set up police stations in different. All this is going to lead to what? Civil unrest, race wars, violence, right? It says, "And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another." This is the book of Revelation 6 and 4. "And there went out another horse that was red," right? Esau, Edom. "And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth." Right? Underneath Esau, Edom's rulership, peace has been taken from the earth. Right? It tells you about after Alexander died, his generals put on crowns, and what it said, evils multiplied in the earth underneath these red devils, right? It says, I'm going to read it again. "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword," that nuclear weapon, right? Pretty soon it's going to turn up, right, into what? Nuclear confrontation.
Serving 31 months in prison. A A Muslim man with a knife who threatened to kill him faced no charges. Lucy Connolly, a 41-year-old mother, is serving 31 months in prison for a tweet appearing to encourage violence against illegal migrants after the murders of those 3 girls in Southport. She got more jail time than some of the members of this Pakistani sex grooming gang, convicted for child prostitution and having sex with a minor. Add to this rising crime, Orwellian state censorship, and economic decline in many areas. Academic and news commentator Matt Goodwin.
I think there is a widespread consensus in the country that Britain is a nation in decline, economically, demographically, and culturally. There are areas that are just as poor as Eastern Europe, as parts of the developing world, in Northern England, in some of our coastal towns. Demographically and culturally, there are areas that are just as poor as Eastern Europe, as parts of the developing world, in Northern England, in some of our coastal towns.
The perception is, among the white working class, that the state actively prefers ethnic minorities and is funneling resources their way. Some white working class people, they're saying, why is it they get hotel rooms? Why is it they get welfare when we are struggling?
The riots and the disturbances were symptomatic of a
minorities and is funneling resources their way. Some white working class people, they're saying, why is it they get hotel rooms? Why is it they get welfare when we are struggling?
The riots and the
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 25:7. It says, there be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy. In the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. To see the fall of his enemy, and it's being documented, it's being recorded, right? It's on the World Wide Web, it's on the news. You can see these different European countries where Esau, Edom ruled, is falling apart. Poverty, right? The civil unrest, loss of businesses, loss of jobs, invasion of migrants, collapse of currency, poor people, rich people. It's a separation. That middle class shit is gone, right? And these devils, they don't know how to deal with it. I'm going to read it again. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy. The 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man and have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Like I said, this is the end of Esau's society.
They're saying, why is it they get hotel rooms? Why is it they get welfare when we are struggling?
The riots and the disturbances were symptomatic of a much deeper disillusionment in this country with the way in which British people just no longer feel safe in their own communities. They no longer feel safe in their country, where lawlessness is essentially being sanctioned by the state.
Political strategist Dominic Cummings says elements within the British government are finally beginning to discuss Britain's slide into chaos and the potential for serious violence. Oliver J.J. Lane is the bureau chief of Breitbart London.
There are 2 sort of issues feeding into this, first of which is essentially civilizational collapse, which is causing a rise in crime and potentially civil unrest between ethnic groups. And then on the other hand, you have government incompetence and policing incompetence, and that creates that downward spiral.
One pollster conducting focus groups in small English towns this year said the disillusionment was the worst I've heard. In every group, it was anger, despondency, or misery about the state of Britain that doesn't feel sustainable. One focus group member suggested the disillusionment was the worst I've heard. In every group, it was anger, despondency, or misery about the state of Britain that doesn't feel sustainable. One focus group member suggested Britain might need a coup.
I'm going to finish with the book of Obadiah. We're going to go over to Obadiah 1, and let's start at 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are the hidden things sought up? It reads, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, right? Esau done took in all these migrants. Esau think he was doing good, but guess what? It was really to bite him in his tail, because everything he has done is about to be done to him. It tells you that in verse, let's go down here to verse 15, right? It says here in verse 15, Obadiah 1:15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head, right? Esau invaded everybody else's land. Now his land is being invaded. Esau robbed, still killed, and slaughtered people. Now the same thing is being done unto him. Shalom.